In this recording, we will review how to make your household import file. And as a very quick reminder, this import is only going to create their profiles. It is not going to pull in their history, nor will it automatically connect them to any membership that you have built. And so in here, this is where we're going to build out your files. Now, some of you may be coming from software where you're going to be able to pull the data that we are asking for. Others may not. So I just want to review how we want this information to look. So this household ID is going to be the first column that you need to fill out. And the way that this would work is if there's a household where there are 3 people, you want their household ID to match. That way we have mom, dad, and the child all connected together. If they're individual households, then what you can do is just type in -1 and we'll automatically assign those values as we build their profiles. But it is very important that your households have an ID if you want them to be connected. The household type is also a required field. Now this is quite simple. We are either looking for an H if it is a household or an O if it is an organization. So for those of you who do a lot of room rentals to other businesses, this is when the O would be an option. Household name is not a required field. This is something that our system is automatically going to assign, such as pulling the last name of whoever the household head of household is. If you want to enter a value here, so if a local store was using you for reservations, you can type the name of the local store here, and then over on the first name area, that would be the person who is from the local store that's making the reservations, or for lack of a better phrase, the person who's responsible for paying. Household account balance. Now for many of you, this is just going to be $0. But a good way to think of this is if this particular, my first participant that I'm entering, maybe we owe them money because they hurt their leg and they were unable, they prepaid for a program, hurt their leg, could not participate. So you gave them $25 that they can use for the future. That's when you want to type in a balance here. Or maybe the business still owes you $100 from its last reservation. That's how you want to enter these values. Now, the one thing to keep in mind is if you're trying to keep a household together, like right here, we have household 1, you only want to enter the household account balance on one person's profile. And that's because it's treated as a household. It's going to show for all of those household members. So then you would just type in the members' names, last names, if you're not pulling this from an import file. And a trick right here is if you are entering the date of birth, we want it to be a 2-digit month and 2-digit year. So you can come here ahead of time to this column and right-click and format the cell. When you're formatting your cell, you want to choose custom, and you want to format as MM/DD, and then leave the backslash in for YYYY. That's going to allow a 2-digit month, a 2-digit day, and a 4-digit year. Gender, we need you to enter a value of either male or female. Now, the date of birth is not a required field. However, the gender is. If you are unsure of the gender of your import file, just assign everyone the same gender. It can be fixed upon profile when they first log into their account. Now, their address is also going to be a required field. So you can type out their address, use address line 2 if they have an apartment number or a PO box. Type in the city, the state, zip code. Now those are all required fields. Now this residency indicator, if you don't have resident or non-resident fees and you're not tracking this information, this field does not need to be entered. However, if you would like us to import residency with their profiles because you do a lower price for your residents versus your non-residents, this is an important piece to type in either R for residents, NR for non-residents. Now, for those who have systems where you may have overridden somebody's residency status, such as a employee who's not a resident, but because they work for the office, they are going to be made a resident via override. So you would type it in as R _ OR because the OR is the override. Now, one quick thing to add is if your zip code is not, if your zip code starts with a 0, it may end up needing to be formatted. So if you click on that column and right-click to format cells, under Special is zip code, and you want to choose the first zip code option, not the one with +4. Do not enter these values with the +4 of the zip code. We can only import the first 5 zip code digits. The next few values are things like an email address, which you can enter 3 for the profile. So you can type in their email address. If they have multiple email addresses, you can enter multiple here. Home phone. Now, we call this home phone still on this particular report. However, it really is and when the profile is created, we're going to refer to this as the primary phone number. Now, one thing that I like to pause here and point out is anywhere where a column is a phone, it is a good idea to format all of these cells. So you have these 3 phone numbers, home, mobile, work, and you also have emergency phone and emergency phone 2. It's not a bad idea to come and format all of these cells. Under Special, there is an option called Phone Numbers, and this is going to properly make your phone number. When you enter the phone number, it is going to properly enter the value the way that we need it to show on our side. If there's a work extension, please feel free to put that information in. Emergency contact would be an emergency contact name, emergency phone number, emergency contact 2, emergency phone 2. None of these are required. These are all optional. The household indicator should be marked as a Y or an N. So the Y should be the head of household, the primary parent, or the person who needs to be contacted if anything occurs. Now you can also import a member note, their barcode ID if you're currently using barcodes, private notes. Now private notes are not visible to the public. And we recently added this option called Legacy Login ID. So if they were able to log in previously on their old system with a login ID of Lanzoni, what would happen is the system will create a profile ID for them, and they'll just need to reset their password before they log in for the first time. And the way that this would look is once you have a few family members. Now this is how it'll look when you have the whole household enter. So we've got the household balance on mom's name. We have the spouse. We have the spouse and the child entered here. Genders, the address all lines up. Residency, email, and phone is all the same. The household indicator indicates that only mom needs to be notified. And the login ID is staying under mom's profile. Now to enter a business, some of my customers will do this, will enter their businesses in a few ways. And the biggest thing is going to be, how do you want to search for them later? Do you want this to be the business name, or do you want this to be the person who's paying the bill or the owner of the business? If you decide to do the business name, please be aware that there is a 30-character limit for the first name and the last name. And what some of my customers will do is, if the local store was just a local business, is they would type the first name in as business and the last name in as local store. They would not enter a date of birth. Most of the time they just choose a gender. And then they type in the address that they're located at, city, state, and again, if you guys are importing any of this information, it's all going to end up being a copy paste from those values you already have. And you can enter, if you don't have an email address for the local store, maybe that's something you never gathered for your business accounts. You only required you don't need to enter their information if you don't have an email address. Now, home phone in this case would be the main business line. And if you don't enter head of household, or if there's no head of household because it's a business, you can just type in N. Now, businesses do not necessarily need login IDs, so you don't need to enter this value. And once you have your import file built, what you want to do is send a copy of it to your customer success manager, and they're going to run it through a verification system. If they reach back out to you because some of the information doesn't look clean or needs to be corrected, they'll just ask you to correct the information until the file is a good file to upload. Once that file has been uploaded, it goes onto a migration site that your customer success manager will send you the information for and how to log in. And you're just going to verify that the data that you sent us and the data that on that migration site matches. And once you have approved that match, it will be linked to your account. This process typically takes 7 to 9 business days once your customer success manager has a clean file. And that is all you need to know for creating your household import file for RecDesk.